Oh, there we go. Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday. I am Tamika. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tamika here on the NCAE Facebook page, YouTube, and Twitter accounts. And I am really excited because I have a special guest with me today. Let me just go ahead and bring her up. Here she is. We are joined today by our very special guest, Princess Moss, who is the Vice President of the National Education Association. And Princess, I am so glad to welcome you to Tuesdays with Tamika. Please say hello to the people.
Oh, thank you so much, Tamika. And hello, North Carolina. Woohoo! It is so good to be back here in North Carolina. I think 3 short days ago, I was here listening to some of Tamika's colleagues singing Achy Breaky Heart after losing a phone bank bet. All good. That's all good. But seriously, it is wonderful to be back here with you, Tamika, and with North Carolina educators. This is undoubtedly the final countdown ahead of perhaps the craziest election season of our times. And I'm sure listeners are probably wondering, well, what's the conversation? The conversations around the importance of public education. What educators knew about the disparities pre-COVID, and others discovered as COVID has shined a spotlight on the disparities in school resources, the digital divide, and the need for infrastructure and school building improvements. The role of elected and appointed leaders in improving educational outcomes is incredibly crucial. So I'm so glad you're doing this. I'm so glad you're doing this, Tamika, and I'm so excited to be your guest today. The voices of educators are extremely essential, and you have done an extremely phenomenal job in lifting up the voices of educators all across North Carolina. And with just 14 days left and public education on the ballot, we can't take a break or get complicit. We just have 2 weeks to send a resounding message that every child deserves the best public education, regardless of their zip code. And North Carolina educators have real champions to vote for. And I know we're going to talk about some of those folks in just a minute. Folks like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, your great governor, Roy Cooper, Yvonne Hawley, Attorney General Josh Stein, Cal Cunningham, and a host of others. So I want to say thank you from the onset, Tamika. And I know that North Carolina has been voting since the beginning of September. And I just want to say to everyone listening, if you care about your kids, your school, your profession, please make sure you get out there and join your colleagues and get out the vote. I know that's probably more than you wanted me to say on the onset, but I'm just so excited to be here and to be talking about my passion. And that is public education, our students, and our educators who work with those students every day.
Oh, Princess, I love to hear your passion and how you are energized about organizing and especially organizing for public education. So it is totally fine. You have
Thank you.
And you heard a princess say she was just with Team NCAE just this past weekend as we kicked off an amazing phone bank battle, which my team won, of course, but then Team NCAE won because we got to phone bank so many of our members and talk about, like Princess said, all of these pro public education candidates. So let's get down to the questions, though. Princess, you are the newly elected vice president of the NEA, the nation's largest labor union, and we know you feel strongly about how important public education is for everyone. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to be here today?
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Tamika. I have what I feel like is an amazing story. I am the daughter of 2 public school bus drivers who didn't have the opportunity, for higher education. My mom graduated from high school. Um, my father, um, my father went to eighth grade, and then he had to stop to help his family on the family farm. But they instilled in their three children, me being the youngest, that getting a good public education was important. And it was the key to opportunity outside of our small little town of Bumpus. They instilled in me the fact that if I worked hard and if I did well in school, if I listened to my teachers and build community with all of the educators around me, that I would be able to do anything that I wanted in life. And I took that to heart. And I, enjoyed my journey in elementary, middle, high school, and then post-secondary education. And I had some awesome educators, Tamika, who worked with me. And they worked with me during the school day, and they worked with me outside of the school day. So I know, I know what public education can do for a student. And like you, Tamika, I'm a music teacher, so we know, right? We know what music can do and how it can change a child's life. And I want the same opportunities and more for for the students that we have today and the students that will come after. They deserve the best. They are our future. So that's just a little bit about my background and what has brought me to this point today. I want to fight for better for our students, for the educators who work with those students, and for our country.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. And from music teacher to music teacher, I'm biased. We make some and it's so glad to have you with your background, with your story, helping to lead the work that we do around public education and helping us lead the NEA. So that's really, really important. So, of course, here in North Carolina, we know that North Carolina is extremely important, not only for our local and state races, but it is on the path to the White House. And we have so much more than just a presidential race on our ballot this year, but we know North Carolina is important. We have a seat on the U.S. Senate, and all of our members of Congress are up for grabs, as well as our state and local races. So, from your perspective in Washington, D.C., what do you think are the races that most directly impact educators here in North Carolina? Would it be the president, the Senate, the state house? What would you say?
Oh, wow. That is a really good question, Tamika. But first of all, let me say how excited it has been for me to watch all that you all are doing in North Carolina to ensure that friends of public education are being elected. I'm, from your sister state, Virginia. And so Virginia, yeah, woohoo! Virginia has been a battleground state in the past. We have done a lot of work to change from red to blue, from red to purple to blue. And so now we're looking to North Carolina. You all are leading the way in this election, and you have so many races going on, so many very important races going on. So in reflecting on your question, I think about the fact that we need leaders who support strong public schools in local, state, and federal office at every level of government all across this country. And actually, not only that, here's the thing. When educators don't have a seat at the table, politicians make decisions that impact our profession and our students every single day. It drives me absolutely nuts. There are people who drive by a school and think that they have the expertise to make a decision about the school. No, no, it's the educators who work with our students each and every day who have the expertise. And I'd also say that Joe and Kamala are a dream team for educators. And getting rid of Betsy DeVos is absolutely critical. First of all, I think it's important for folks to know that Joe's wife, Dr. Jill Biden, is a member of the National Education Association. I
Absolutely.
think that's fantastic. And so we know that she's going to be making sure, doubly sure, that she's giving her husband, Vice President Joe Biden, the insight. You better do this messages that all educators are privy to. But back to Joe and Kamala, they will need help to move an agenda that helps everyone, that helps all Americans. They'll need Democratic majorities in the House and Senate, of course. Cal Cunningham can help end Mitch McConnell's do nothing grip on the U.S. Senate. We need Cal Cunningham. But we can't ignore the critical work of elected officials at the state level either. I'm so happy to be back in North Carolina this evening, Tamika, because Democrats here have a ticket that truly reflects our country. Democrats here have a chance to make history as well by electing an unprecedented number of candidates of color to statewide offices. North Carolina has a list of firsts. Let's take a look at Chief Justice Beasley, the first African American woman elected Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, currently serving as Chief Justice by appointment, safeguarding our laws. We need more people of color in positions who can safeguard our laws. There's Yvonne Holley, the first African American female lieutenant governor. Powerful voice and possible tie-breaking vote in your state legislature. Then there's Ronnie Chatterjee, the first Indian American treasurer and the guardian of our pension system. I can't tell you how important the pension system is for educators, Tamika. It's like educators work so hard. And, coming from Virginia, I know that the pension system is always a target.
Mm.
We need to make sure that we have folks in there who are safeguarding that pension system. So when educators and others retire, they have those monies to live on. And then we have Jessica Holmes, the first African American female labor commissioner and a former NCAE staffer. So you know where she her heart will be. And then we have real champions of public education like Josh Stein, the North Carolina Attorney General. So yeah, you have a chance to win this election, to win pro-public education majorities in your House and Senate, and that can push the needed funding increases and pay increases that our students and the educators of North Carolina deserve. The Democratic ticket reflects America and our communities, and we need to get Democrats from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to Roy Cooper and Yvonne Holley to Josh Stein and Jessica Holmes elected to take this great state back and to make sure that we do what is right for our students and the educators who work with those students every day.
Thank you so much, Princess, for breaking that down for our members. And like you said, here in North Carolina, we have the potential to make history here in North Carolina. And we do that by casting of our votes and using our voices to reshape the landscape here in North Carolina and across the United States for public education. From our local school board races to all of the House races that Princess named, all the way up to Secretary of Education, which Joe Biden, of course, will make sure that we put an educator in that spot by getting rid of Betsy DeVos. So thank you for sharing all of that with our members, that you see that in DC and that we should be able to see that here in North Carolina. And so I appreciate that so. Speaking of voting, right? So we've been talking a lot with our members. We talk about it every Tuesday on Tuesdays with Tamika about how important it is to vote. And so I'm going to ask you the quintessential question of all of my interviews, of all of my guests. We are 2 weeks away from Election Day, 14 days. The election is over on November 3rd. So we are in the middle of early voting here in North Carolina. We started on October 15th. So I would like to ask you, Madam Vice President, what is your voting plan?
Well, thank you, Tamika. Well, I have already voted, and I voted by mail, and I followed my ballot. So I requested my ballot by mail, and then I tracked it, got to me. I voted, did all the necessary things that voting by mail requires, and then I mailed my ballot back, and then I tracked it to make sure that it had been received by the voting officials. So that was my voting plan, and my ballot is in, and I am encouraging everyone who's listening to make sure that you have a plan to vote. Every vote counts. Every vote counts. And in order to be successful in this election, we're going to have to win by monumental numbers so that there can be no question as to what the outcome is. So you please make sure that you have a plan to vote. Make sure that your mama, your daddy, your cousins, your brother, your sister, everybody know. As my friend and our MEA president Becky Pringle would say, everyone who likes you, who loves you, who lives with you, or who wants to continue to live with you, please make sure that they have a plan to vote. I know that North Carolina voters have been voting for well more than a month by now. In fact, I bet nearly half of our educators have already voted. But let me tell you, I'm just going to be frank with you, that's not enough. If you haven't voted, what are you waiting for? There's no reason to wait. Make sure you vote. I'm going to say it again. Make sure you vote. I believe in North Carolina, you all have until October 31st to vote early. Okay, that's okay. So what I know is that 20% of North Carolina voters have already cast their vote, but we need for everyone to step it up. I'm very serious. I have seen elections stolen. The results have to be clear. So I hope that you'll find the time you need between now and Election Day to make sure you vote and talk to everyone you know, and anyone else you can to get them to vote. I hate to say this because I know people are tired of hearing this is the most important election of our lifetime. But I'm going to be serious. I've been through a lot of elections in my life, and this definitely feels like it is the most important election of our lifetime. I don't know if our country can withstand another 4 years of our current reality. Just remember that as educators, you have a powerful voice, and voters need to hear from you. It won't be easy, but I know we can do it because I believe in us.
Oh man, those are such affirming words, especially during this time where our educators are already going through a lot. But this election is extremely, extremely important. And like Princess said, we have to leave no doubt. We have to put it all out on the floor. We must go out and turn out to vote. And so, to our viewers who are watching, shout out to you guys. It is your turn. What is your voting plan? Now, we know whatever route you choose to take to make sure that you cast your vote, we want you to know all of your choices so that you can use your voice and use your vote in this election. So, as you heard Princess say, she voted by mail, and lots of our members have taken that option as well. And you can follow your ballot here in North Carolina by going to ballot tracks on the North Carolina State Board of Elections website. You can go and early vote, which Princess said the deadline is October 31st. So if you want to be festive and go on Halloween and bring some candy corn and all that other good stuff, you can do
Yeah.
that. But also bring your mask and your pen. Um, or you can wait and vote on November the 3rd on election day, but make sure you bring your mask and your own pen. And just like Princess said, educators, we have used our voices throughout this process leading up to this moment of the election. And so we've met with candidates, we've interviewed them, and we've endorsed them. So if you would like to see the list of all of the candidates that NCAE has endorsed as pro public education candidates, you can go to ncaevotes2020.org to see the full list. And if you are out at a early voting site or on election day, make sure that you find an educator so they can give you a NCAE Apple Card, because that is the signature way to know who educators recommend. So, Princess, I just am extremely, extremely grateful that you have taken the time out to be with us today. I just want to thank you because, as the vice president of the NEA, you could be all over the United States, but here with me and North Carolina. And so, thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Tamika. North Carolina is important in this election, and you all are important in my heart. So thank you for all that you do.
Oh, and we are going to keep working to make sure that we not only are fighting to win for our students, but we're fighting to win for our educators as well. So, to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Please keep an eye out for more episodes of Tuesdays with Tamika. Now, I do want to plug we have the distinct pleasure of having Princess today, and we will have NEA President Becky Pringle in North Carolina tomorrow. So we are so excited. The ladies of the NEA are representing a big water. So we are so, so excited to have them both as part of the big union family of Team NEA. So thank you so much. So you guys, we will see you tomorrow with our Red for Ed special edition Educators for Joe live stream with NEA President Becky Pringle. Thank you again to Princess. And we will see you guys tomorrow and next Tuesday. Bye.